All right, the January regular Board of Supervisors meeting will come to order, and we'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on, I just want to announce that we had an executive session before the meeting. That's why we were a little bit late. We have a new solicitor that's starting with us tonight, and we had some matters to discuss with him. Regarding personnel and some litigation. Next order of business is zoning. Carl Melton.
No. Just that we do have the, not really zoning, but the agreement for the grant with Lackawanna County, which is a later motion, and it's next to attorney run for review. Contract on the grant. Zoning.
Okay. Michelle.
Hi, how are we doing? Michelle Newberry, Lackawanna County Community Relations. Some of the great things going on with the county. We have partnered with PNC Field for a mural competition to paint one of the walls up at the new stadium. Also, Lackawanna County has established a code blue weather alert, which is when the temperature gets below 20 degrees, including the wind chill. There will be alerts sent out to your local municipality as well as on social media. Eventually, we're working with 911 to get it to be globalized, which would be a telephone call right to your house to let you know that the weather will be bad. And also, they're looking into a program that you could sign up for text messaging directly to your phone for any weather-related events. Penn State Extension has a couple programs coming up for the new year. Strength training, dining with diabetes, and the Gardeners program. Also, they partnered with the state to do a year-round prescription and over-the-counter drug take-back program. The 3 locations within Lackawanna County is the courthouse. There's a drop-off at the Carbondale Police Department and South Abington Police Department between the hours of 8:30 and 4. You can drop off any medication that you have, narcotics, non-narcotics, anything that is not injectable, they will take. And all that they ask, because it is an anonymous program, is that you remove your personal information from the bottles, and that any liquid medication comes in the original packaging, just so that nothing spills or leaks. That's about all that I have. I'm going to leave all the information on the events with Tom. If there's any questions, I'll be around after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Next order of business will be we'll take Al Pritchett from the Scott Hose Company.
Pritchett, president of the Scott Hose Company. I'm here just to make sure you guys got your invitations for our installation banquet this weekend. I hope you did. If not, that's why I'm here. Let you know. Hope to see you guys there. If there's any other questions or anything, glad to answer them.
Al, when's the next breakfast?
We're going to set it back up for February.
Okay.
And we will have a Super Bowl pizza sale too.
Very good. Thanks. Next order of business would be public comment on the agenda item. Rose?
Going through the bills today, you should try to take note as far as when you're purchasing stone and having the hauling. I don't know if you realize that you're paying can you contact companies that would actually haul the stone? Because you're paying for the one hauling, and we go through the bills, you pay like $14.16 per stone, per ton, which seems excessive. The other bill is, and because I only saw it today and didn't have a chance to see the ones from last year, but if memory serves me correctly, how many times are we going to keep buying chains? We bought chains again, $463.54. We just bought chains, I think, twice last year and once the year before. I mean, aren't there repair kits that they can be repaired?
Answer both of those questions, I think you can if you want. The haul rate is exactly what the quarry charges. The company that is hauling the rate is from the township. We prefer to keep our business in the township. The chains, I'm waiting for repair links now for 3 months. So we can't get them
You're waiting for repair links from where?
from bottom in Hohenstiel.
But that's where you bought the new ones.
They can get new chains, they don't have the repair links.
And there's nobody else that supplies
I've
them?
had chains ordered, which along now from August, they still haven't got here.
And also on the agenda items, motion number 6. Is that notary for township use only?
Joe, I don't, this came up at, when I was at the AG's office, and I don't think a notary can be prohibited from only doing the work. We had a notary in my office. She was supposed to be allowed to.
I agree. I mean, they have a public charge, and they really can't discriminate. If a person gets a notary license, they think they have to serve anybody who comes to them. It's a very good idea to have a notary here at the township, because you need them in all sorts of varied situations. I think as a public officer, they have a public charge, and they can't discriminate. They can't say, I'm not going to serve you because you're from this town, or I'm not going to serve you if they don't like me. So I think just the opposite of your question, they should serve them.
Okay, but my next question is, so then there's a charge when they do the notary, and being that the township taxpayer funds are paying for this application and whatever else goes with it, then how shouldn't, if you're doing private work and now you're charging and public money is paying for it, so that's the issue here.
Well, of course, the individual is agreed to serve as a notary. He's agreed to serve as a notary for the township, and he's entitled to some type of compensation for that. And I would think that the fact that the township paid his fee, it's a relatively minor fee, would be reasonable and would be acceptable, since in return he's agreeing that he will assume that additional duty on behalf of the township.
Well, then why don't we split the cost?
I guarantee you right now, I have no interest in doing any notary work anywhere but here. I was going to do it as a convenience. If it's an issue, I could care less. And I have no interest in doing notary work outside the building or charging anybody for notary work or anything else. So if you don't want to do it, that's just fine with me. But I just, I thought it would be a convenience for the office. I have no interest in doing notary work from my house or anywhere else.
I agree, we need a notary. When Patty was here, we had somebody in the building, and we're always running around trying to find somebody to notarize. And we had reached an agreement with one of the contractors, some of the sewer contractors. They were going to bring a notary up here so that there was somebody that could notarize it for us. But we should, the municipal office, have somebody, and to at least handle our own work. And Tom can attest to the fact that there's usually a lot of documents that he has to have. Copies tonight.
Probably, and most of the time, Tom's signature is one of them that has to be notarized, so it can't be him.
That's true. Somebody can't notarize his own signature.
Motion number 8, what zoning, what case is that?
I believe that is the summary appeal for the junkyard, Brad Green.
Do you know what the date is on that hearing?
No, I don't.
Okay. And on the zoning report, there's one, an illegal business. What illegal business is that?
I don't know. Carl?
We had a variance overturned, it's technically not an illegal business. We had a variance overturned by county court. I've given them a 30-day cease and desist letter, so technically.
Yeah, but what's the party's name?
Tomasovich on Justice Boulevard.
What is the name?
Tomasovich.
And who appealed it?
Golzax.
Is that over where Ryan McCall?
Yeah, where Schutz Garage used to be.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just had a concern, I guess, following up on question number 8. Mr. Panucci, who recently resigned as town council, I was wondering why our new town council would not be handling this when this is costing us such money to.
He will be, and that's going to be removed from the motions. We discussed that in our conference before the meeting.
And just one, I guess, agenda thing with the date on this agenda is December 19th, 2016.
Anybody else? If there's nothing further, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the Board of Supervisor minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Next, order of business is committee reports. Police reports are attached, but at this time, we've asked Chief Gannon to speak for the board and for the community regarding an issue that something that needs to be addressed, something that Bob brought up when he was running for supervisor, and he mentioned it to me several times. Now that he's on the board, he would like to move forward with this project. As many people know, over the past year, there have been many break-ins and burglaries around the township during the day when people were at work, and also cars being broken into at night. And there always seems to be, after the fact, people noticing that there's a red van in the neighborhood or parked in someone's driveway, or someone's suspicious. And what we would like to do, and Bob will be spearheading it with Jared, is to institute a crime watch program in Scott Township to get neighbors involved, keeping an eye on fellow neighbors for any suspicious vehicles and people. And Jared has done some preliminary work investigating what we need to do to get a crime watch program off the ground here in Scott. I think it would be absolutely beneficial to try to crack down and prevent these thefts that are going on in Scott and all over the area, just because of a lot of drug activity. And so at this point, I would ask our chief to make a little presentation on what he has found out so far and what he would propose.
Sure. And I'm going to leave these sheets up here. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Jared Gans, the police department. A neighborhood watch group is an association of neighbors who look out for each other's families and property, or alert the police to any suspicious activities or crime in progress, and work together to make their community a safer, better place to live. Some of our neighborhood watch objectives that we'll be going towards will be to assist the police department through observation, to help reduce crime and improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods, to foster cooperation between citizens and police officers, to educate citizens on crime prevention, to create a higher visibility public presence in our neighborhoods, to unite residents for a dedicated reason, to increase crime awareness among citizens of our neighborhoods, to make law enforcement more effective and productive, to provide a safe, secure environment for all neighborhood residents, and to make a difference in our community. We will be asking for area captain volunteers who are responsible for relaying information to members on their area, keeping up-to-date information on residents, and making special efforts to involve the elderly, working parents, and young people. Area captains also can serve as liaisons between the neighborhood and the police by communicating information about meetings and crime incidents to all residents. With guidance from our law enforcement agency, members will be trained in home security techniques, observation skills, and crime reporting. Residents will also learn about the types of crime that affect the area. All age groups are welcome to join Scott Township Neighborhood Watch, as they can add sustainability to the program. Senior citizen participation is a plus. Retired seniors who are at home can observe the neighborhood when many adults are at work. In the upcoming weeks, the Scott Township Police Department will have Neighborhood Watch applications available at headquarters for interested residents to join. I'm currently creating a website for the Scott Township Neighborhood Watch, which should be up and running in a few days. Donation letters have been going out to local businesses seeking donations for the purchase of 50 Neighborhood Watch signs, which will be posted throughout the township. And my goal is to have our first watch meeting in February. If anyone wants to seek any other information, they can contact me at the police department or through my email, and all that information is on the sheets. Thank you.
Bob, you want to make a few comments since this was a project that you spearheaded?
Yeah, in view of all the, we all know somebody who got robbed. We all know somebody's house was broken into, valuable personal things stolen. Nobody knew what was going on when somebody was in the neighborhood. That's what I got when I was campaigning. Nobody knew any information. Hopefully this will get information out to the people, transfer, make the police force a little more friendly and accessible to everybody. And I think the rest will take care of itself.
Exactly, how does the Neighborhood Watch work?
Again, Jared's going to give us all the information on this.
We're going to go into that in February. Basically, what I'm going to do is break down our township into sectors. Obviously, I have to see what kind of interest we get, but if I get, say for instance, 10 homes on Lakeland Drive that are interested in and want to participate in it, out of those 10 homes, we'll have one person that's a captain of that area, where they'll call him, much like a phone tree, and let him know, hey, I was looking at Joe's house last week and a red car pulled in there at 10 o'clock at night. They'll relay it to him. There'll be a direct link from those 10 households to me or to someone in the police department. It's pretty much going to go along that basis. Obviously, we have to see what kind of interest we get and how many people are interested, and then we'll critique it as needed.
And it sounds like we want to encourage neighbors to keep an eye on other neighbors and then notify the police if there's suspicious activity while it's going on, as opposed to after the fact.
Correct.
And will you be able to bring up some individuals involved with other crime watches in other municipalities to address the citizens? And
I will.
Okay.
Since this is a work in progress, I imagine right now, what's the qualifications, or haven't you thought about this when someone wants to volunteer to become a captain or to get on a board? Is there going to be a criminal background check on that very person?
There's going to be some background investigation, some prior address stuff. I'm going to have copies of the application. That'll include all the requirements.
Okay, because I mean, after having watched the George Zimmerman scene, everybody associated with that HOA and the municipalities, anybody that was even remotely involved in that, setting it up on the peripheral, right, is running for the hills right now. And I think also a word of caution is sometimes the very first person to volunteer may not be the person to go with. And take a pause and consider all of this. I would ask that. And another thing I would think to be something to be concerned about is we don't all know the atmosphere of all the neighborhoods around us in Scott Township. I don't know where you live, or I don't know how you interact with your neighbors. in the event that someone gets on these boards, this particular board, or becomes captains in these particular districts, right? And how can you guarantee that there won't be vendettas involved or anything like that? It's no mystery here who I am and why I'm standing here and why my concerns are such. But I'm going to tell you all, I don't want some of the people in my neighborhood on this type of board watching me. I don't want them watching my guests. I don't want them watching me in my home, my husband, or my property. I worry about walking out of my home with the neighborhood I live in. And so unless we know all these districts and the atmosphere in these situations, I think I'm just asking you that you consider all this.
We will, thank you.
I would envision this as something more to just have neighbors keeping an eye on what's going on. I don't believe we need something like Police Academy, Citizens on Patrol. You know,
Well, this is my concern, Mike. I don't want this to become a license.
Correct.
An unofficial license for someone patrolling.
Yeah, this is not a vigilante service, you know, there's gonna be guidelines in there which would include not a citizen patrol, and obviously not an armed citizen patrol. That will all
Well,
be
there's
addressed.
another thing.
I think it might have been Bob telling me that you run into somebody that was a witness to a break-in during the day with someone walking around the yard and really didn't think anything of it at the time, and it was the person that was breaking into their house. If we could just get people to think about if they see someone strange in the neighborhood or a strange vehicle, just call the police. And
If
if
you
just
see-
did that.
Yeah, if you see a van parked in somebody's driveway, you know it don't belong there, you know they're not moving out. These are the things we want to key on. We're not arming people and having them walk around. Just a better eye on our own neighborhoods. If you see a bunch of kids breaking a back door down, these are the things where nobody's going to be walking on patrol. Nobody's going to be armed. Just more awareness, a better relationship with the police department, no fear of reprisals if you call up or anything like that. They're there to help. They're going to be more friendly in the neighborhood. Anybody has a problem, like I said, the guy called the police right across from his house. He saw there was a stranger there. They apprehended 3 girls who were robbing the house. And just like that, if we can bring more of that to the township, I think we can stop these home invasions.
I'm not opposed to this at all. I'm just saying that I hope a lot of thought gets
Sure.
into the regulation of it.
It's in the
I
kids.
myself have been burglarized many years ago up at the lake. It's no picnic, and it could be a very dangerous situation. And I can appreciate the concern of all the residents in Scott Township. But I'm very concerned about if the wrong people on these boards and no oversight.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I would just see them as an extra set of eyes for the police department. That it's the police department that's in charge of security for the township and nobody else.
For sure.
And they will do the investigation, they will do the follow-up. We just need people, encourage people to keep an eye on their fellow neighbors. And if something looks suspicious, let the police know, and they'll determine whether or not it's something that warrants further investigation. Because many times, and I've heard from so many people, you know, after the fact, when someone got robbed, they saw that red van that was in the neighborhood or sitting in their neighbor's driveway. They thought it was funny that it was there because they know who visits them and there's never a red van there, but they didn't think anything of it. In a situation like that, if you just had somebody call police and say, you know, Mrs. So-and-so lives alone, and there's a strange van that's in her driveway, just to give them a heads up, and, the police might be able to catch that person, as opposed to investigating after the fact.
And that's what we're gearing this whole program towards, a little more observation for citizens of Scott Township.
A lot of dirt roads are like 2 miles long, there's only 4 houses on them. Those people know who belongs on that road. I live on one of those dirt roads. My daughter rides her bike up and down these roads. When I see a black Ford truck that's never been on the road before at 8:30 following her on the bike, I got off my porch and I went and I got a license and I reported it to the police. These are the things we want to do. If we don't want to, I didn't come off my porch with a shotgun. I came off my porch armed with a pad and a pen. And I related to the police, and they ran the tags, they told me who it was, and never seen the truck again. Things like that could help follow us.
Rose?
Yeah, it's an excellent idea. It doesn't, like you said, it's an extra set of eyes, and there's, people to pay attention to what's going on. And it's not only pertaining to if there's a break-in or anything else, you could have other damage. Your house could catch on fire. I mean, you would certainly want somebody in the neighborhood, whether you like them or not like them, to call it in, or anything else that would be going on, so.
There are valid concerns that were brought up. We're not looking at creating another police force in the township, or a quasi-police force. Just we would like to encourage residents to keep an eye on their neighbors and feel free to contact the police, not get involved, not confront people, but just report anything they see suspicious to the police, who can't be everywhere at all times, and it gives them a second set of eyes. I kind of envision it. When I was a kid, I used to like to watch a program called Bewitched. And it was a lady across the street from Stevenson, Mrs. Kravitz. She was always looking out the window, telling her husband Abner about, look what the Stevenses are doing now. Somebody like that that's home, they may see that van sitting across from their senior citizen neighbor across the street, and instead of not thinking anything more about it, pick up the police, pick up the phone and call the police and say, hey, I know someone lives there alone, and there's this van there that I don't usually see there. Would you check on the person? So that's what I envisioned, not another quasi police department. Anybody else? All right, Jared, thank you, and then you'll have something set up with some speakers for next month's meeting.
I will.
So we can flesh this out a little more?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roads, Ed, anything? Parks and Recreation? Not too much going on out the cold. Planning Commission, a report, zoning officer, Carl's already mentioned those. Administrative reports from the Secretary Treasurer, the financial reports are attached. Bills are attached. Supervisor reports. I would just like to mention that for some reason, some people seem to feel that there's a sewer rate increase for 2014. If there is anyone out there that's not clear about it at this point, that their sewer rate is not going up, it's remaining at $88 a year, and there will not be any change. Coupon books are in the mail, and they should be arriving for February.
Probably have this week.
That's all I have. Ed? Bobby?
Nope, that pretty much covered what I wanted to discuss.
At this time, I would like to formally introduce our new county solicitor, Attorney Joseph O'Brien. I've known Joe since I was a young lawyer, right out of law school, and I was clerking for Judge Hartnett. Joe was the Lackawanna County solicitor for years, and I believe that Joe is one of the most knowledgeable people that we have in the county on municipal issues, municipal law, and he's someone that I've always gone to in the past. I had a question about election law, municipal law. Joe was like a Bible. and I feel very confident that we're in great hands with Joe handling the township's legal matters, and I would just like to welcome him to Scott Township, and on behalf of myself and the board, and ask Joe to just make a few comments.
Thank you, Mike, for those kind words, and thank you to you, Mike, again, and Ed and Bob for having confidence in me. I have been a lawyer for 30 years, and I have represented numerous townships and boroughs and counties and school districts over the years, and I think I have developed some expertise in that area of the law. I'm very happy to be here. I know many of the people, I've made friends in the township, I know many of the officials in the township, worked with them over the years, and I'm really looking forward to it. Don't have anything substantive to report yet. I have just getting into the files. Be meeting next week with Carl and Tom and some supervisors to get briefed on the files. I'm going to be picking up some files from Mr. Nucci next week. I do have one ongoing matter with the township that I've been working on, and so I'm really looking forward to getting started and seeing you all every month, being here with the meetings. And again, thanks to everybody seated up here at the head table for giving me the opportunity to be of service to the great citizens of this township.
All right. Before we finish supervisor reports, this might be a good time to bring up discussion of advertising for a foreman operator to work on our road department. At the organization meeting, we had discussed and talked about needing to have more manpower on the road department, and I feel Ed needs more help, more personnel to handle the work that's required on our roads, and I think that we would be wise to advertise and see what type of applications we would get from qualified individuals that might be interested. Bob, what do you think?
For sure. I'm living on a dirt road all my life. It's the only thing that we're really lagging in this township, the roads. If you went over any of the dirt roads, a lot of the citizens can't even get through them. And, there's been years of neglect that we have to bring back.
And I think part of the problem is that we just don't have the personnel to handle everything. So, Ed, what do you think?
I think we should advertise and see what kind of candidates are actually out there, whether they're from the township or from outside the township that are qualified.
There's a number of things we can do. Me and Stan went riding around the township this weekend, and one thing we can do in the fall is make sure that we go around and clean every ditch so there's no obstructions in the ditch after all the leaves are down, all the logs are down. The thing I'm seeing most, a log will come down, catch all the leaves, the water goes on the road, washes the road out, no matter what you do. That's the main thing. Keep all of our pipes clean, keep all of our ditches open, crown the roads, get the material on all the soft spots. Preventive maintenance in the future. I think everything else will fall together.
Should we add a motion to the agenda approving the placement of an ad in the paper?
Yeah, our guys are in place.
Yes.
Foreman operator.
Full-time?
Yep.
Okay.
That he'll take charge of making sure all the equipment is always maintained, greased, and how it's driven, and the roads, and the upkeep on the roads. That's what we need.
Anything further on that? Correspondence, you've been previously previously distributed. We'll move on to motions. Tom? Are you still writing it?
I was still writing.
All right.
That's okay. Motion one, pay payroll. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion two, to pay general fund and state fund bills as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion three, to approve financial reports as presented. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion four, to approve attendance for newly elected Supervisor Robert McNulty to a new supervisor's training session series to be held in February. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion five, to approve ordinance 14-01-16-001, an ordinance of the Board of Supervisors of the Township of Scott, Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania. The Township, authorizing and directing the issuance of a general obligation bond, series of 2014, in the principal amount not to exceed $1,094,000. The bond is permitted by and pursuant to the Local Government Unit Debt Act, 53 PACS 8001, as sequel, as amended and supplemented the Debt Act for the purpose of providing funds to be applied for and toward, one, refunding the township's general obligation note, Series 2014, and two, completion of a capital project consisting of a road improvement project. Determining that said debt shall be non-electoral debt for the township, determining that the bond shall be sold at private sale by negotiation, accepting a proposal for a purpose of the bond, private sale by negotiation, forwarding the bond and setting forth related provisions, fixing the substantial form date, maturity date, maximum interest rate, principal and interest payment dates, place the payment of principal and interest and prepayment provisions of the bond, authorizing execution and attestation of the bond, providing that the bond, when issued, shall be a general obligation bond for the township, providing covenants related to debt service applicable to the bond as required by the Debt Act and the Pennsylvania Constitution, and pledging the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the township in support thereof, specifying a reasonable estimate of the useful life of said capital project, creating a sinking fund in connection with the bond as required by the Debt Act, appointing a paying agent, registrar, and sinking fund depository, providing a covenant to ensure prompt and full payment of all obligations of the bond when due, ratifying prior advertisement and directing further advertisement, authorizing and directing the preparation, execution, and filing of a transcript of proceedings, including the debt statement and the borrowing base certificate to be appended to the debt statement and other appropriate documents required by said Debt Act with the Department of Community and Economic Development, declaring that the debt to be incurred together with other indebtedness in the township not to be in excess of any limitation imposed by the Debt Act upon the incurring debt by the township, setting forth certain covenants relating to the non-arbitration status of the bond, designating the bond as a qualified non-exempt obligation under Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, as amended, creating a project account, setting forth certain covenants relating to provisions for retirement of said note, authorizing the payment of expenses, providing guidelines for permitted investments, authorizing and directing appropriate officers of the township to do and perform certain specified, required, or appropriate acts and things, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances insofar as the same shall be inconsistent herewith, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective. Do I have a motion?
Joe, would you like to explain for everyone what all that was?
I didn't get all that. Happy to.
No.
Pennsylvania has a statute called the Local Government Debt Act, and that is a statute that provides the parameters through which local governments can borrow money. So what happened in this case is that the supervisors decided to borrow some money to refund, to pay back an old debt and to do some road construction. In order to do that, they have to comply with what's called the Debt Act, the Local Government Debt Act. To comply with the Local Government Debt Act, you have to do a couple of things. Number one, you have to make an application with the Department of Community Affairs in Harrisburg, filing. You have to show them that you are spending the money for a legitimate purpose. You have to show them that you are able to pay this back. There's a reference in here to borrowing limits. Townships have certain borrowing limits. They can't go out and borrow money and then bankrupt the taxpayers. So you have to show them that you're available to pay it back. This filing is made with the department, and the department then approves it. Once it's approved by the department, the Local Government Debt Act requires that the township supervisors file an pass an ordinance. That was done tonight. That ordinance has to be advertised, so it's in the paper, so members of the public know that the money is going to be borrowed. Members of the public would have a right to come and comment on it. And then that ordinance has to be prepared and read at tonight's meeting. There's certain limits to the use of the money. Money has to be used for the purposes set forth. It can't be reinvested in higher income. You can't borrow money at tax-free rates. This involves tax-free borrowing, which means lower interest rates for the taxpayers and for the township. It can't be arbitrage, what they call that, where you can't borrow at these rates and then invest it in the bank at a higher rate if that were available. So there are limitations on the use of the money. Once this is passed, then the township will have a closing, and the money will be obtained, and the money can then be used for the appropriate purposes. The source of the money is a bond, meaning that the money is paid back over a period of time by the township. The bond would be a private placement bond, I believe, and it would be sold to a group of investors through a bank, and then the money would, the bank would pay the money to the township for its use presently. Then over the period of time, the bond issue would be paid off with principal and interest to private investors who bought the note, bought the borrowing from the banks. It's a good idea. It's done as cheap as you can do it, and it gets the township the money right away. It enables the township to pay it off over time at very low interest rates.
And just to clarify for everyone what this actually is, this is the RUS borrowing for the road paving project that we did this past year. The money that was used to pay the contractors for the paving was done with payments from what's called a bridge loan that we had to get from a bank. The same procedure we used with the sewer authority while we were doing the project. When the project was over, just like this project being over, RUS comes in, they pay off the bridge loan, and then the final loan will be a loan with RUS that we have at the low interest rate. That said, there was a motion.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion 6, to approve the application submittal for notary for CEO Carl Farrow at a cost of $164 for 4 years. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion 7, to approve a grant agreement by and between the County of Lackawanna and Scott Township pertaining to Community Reinvest Grant number 2013-18 in the amount of $22,853 for construction of a pavilion at the Scott Township Park. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Mike, on that, or Tom,
Yes.
you're saying that that's $22,853, which one is right? Last month you said it was
22,853.
22?
17, I have to reverse those.
Okay, all right.
17 was for the ball field.
Okay, I was just wondering which one was which, because up here it says just the opposite.
They
All right.
reversed the numbers in last month's. This is the actual amount of the grant that we got.
All right, no problem.
Okay, a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Number 8 will be removed, and Joel O'Brien will handle it.
Okay, and motion 9, to authorize the Secretary Treasurer to advertise the full-time position of road foreman / operator at a rate to be determined.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Is there any general public comment? Rose?
I don't know if you went through the payroll, but approximately 95 hours of overtime were used during the snow plowing, which I understand that's it's not about the plowing the snow, but you had an employee laid off, and yet you paid time and a half, and you have all these other people that are on a call list, and you had over 95 hours of overtime when you could have called other people. So it's just a comment. What is the status on that riding lawnmower?
It's being stored in the Justice Fire Hall.
Okay, that's what I had heard, that it was over at the Justice Fire Hall. The other thing is that it's certainly refreshing for the community that the cloud has been lifted from the police department. It's nice to have Jared here.
Thanks, Bill.
I could say a few other things, but you all know, because we're all thinking the same thing. Okay, what is the amount of the repairs that have to be done on the damage that was done to the backhoe door?